Welcome back to AV Veterans Talk. We're continuing our conversation with Danny Bazzell, this week's guest. So we're talking about the maintenance on the tanks and things like that. You just dealt with the one, during your time period, the one model of tank was the...
Yes, sir, the M60A1A3.
M61A3.
So when I was in basic at Fort Knox, they were testing the M1 for operational readiness at the time, and I saw one off in the distance, and it's like, that is awesome.
Yeah.
But it wasn't fully operational in service yet. It was still in the final, literally the final days of testing. And so our unit at Fort Lewis was the only tank unit in the 9th Infantry Division. So we had one tank battalion, 4 companies, 4 tanks per company. And four platoons, 4 tanks per platoon. There we go.
Yeah.
For the guys out there that will call me on this.
Yeah.
So we were the only unit in the 9th Infantry Division with the M68-1s and then NA3s. It was about a year later they started integrating the M1s into service. I believe they started first in Germany. And then by 1983, they were transitioning mechanics and M60 tankers to the M1 program.
Yeah. So what was the power source in that thing?
So a Continental AVD 1790 2DR engine, which is a V12 air-cooled, twin turbo supercharged.
Right. Wow.
750 horsepower.
I know as you're a student of history and the mechanics of that, because a lot of people didn't realize, like the Sherman tanks of World War II used just radial aircraft engines in them, and a lot of that technology is inner branch, type of things like that. But to work on something like that.
World War II, they used what they had rather than trying to build something completely from scratch. It's like, well, we can build the tank, and we've got all these engines that are already being made. Let's make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. And we need more of that mindset nowadays, right? I guess that's what F-35 is kind of,
I believe the B-21, don't hold me to this, but I believe that's part of it as well, is they're trying to use existing B-2 materials, components, and things like that to make the B-21, but we'll see how that plays out.
We need to get, I've always, in the military, it's always said, like, you got 1 million of the round pegs in a field, but it's like the square pegs. Oh, it's like the Apollo 13 when they're trying to do, so who thought this up when you needed to put the round peg, so who designed this? But you always think nowadays that, we're smart enough to realize, we want to be able just to pick up something else and just plug it in,
right,
instead of having to have 2 different sources to try to make something work. So in a tank, I could imagine after a while becomes very redundant. Everything is a lot of interchangeable, I would guess.
Between the A1s, A3s, yes, and the M1s, I'm not familiar with the mechanics on that, because those use a gas turbine engine and not a
inline V12. Yeah, that's cool. V12. I keep thinking V12. I immediately get goosebumps. It's good. So, so how many years Army was 2, 4?
I did 3 years in the Army.
3 years in the Army.
Cold War, so I never went overseas. Had I re-enlisted, I would have gone to Germany most likely, but never left Fort Lewis. I was a stateside warrior, but I can honestly say, and very proudly, that in the 3 years I served in the Army, the Russians never invaded Puget Sound. So
yeah, that's good.
We did our job.
That's right. And I've always been the champion for the Cold War ribbon that a lot of us never got. It was a conflict and a battle,
and people died.
Yeah, people died.
There were ongoing conflicts at sea and in the air mostly. But
Mr. Rutan definitely drives that point home, that there were people dying during the Cold War, and how they never saw around. But we always kind of think it was a little political, because the Cold War did not get the gloss that it. It was not something to be looked at as, at least in my opinion here. So
well, the guys and gals stationed in Germany, they were literally the expendables, so to speak. If the Russians came through the Fulda Gap, their job wasn't to hold the position and drive forward and repel. It was to keep them as busy as they could for as long as they could until we were able to airlift additional reinforcements over to Europe to plug in the holes. So I give a lot of credit to those people that served in Germany in the Fulda Gap, because it was that'd
have been I know some tankers from the late 60s, early 70s, and short-range nuclear weapons would have been probably dropping around the country.
Artillery-fired nukes and everything else, tactical theater nukes.
So it would have been ugly. So we got to. Go ahead.
Don't know if you're aware of this, but Congressman Steve Knight
Mm-hmm.
was also a tank mechanic.
I thought he was.
Nope.
I never knew he was a tank mechanic.
He was a tank mechanic in the Fulda Gap.
Oh
So.
man, his fingernails look too nice to have been a mechanic. So it's all good, Steve. I love you, buddy.
He and I had the same job.
Yeah.
He went in 1985. I got out in 1983. But
Nice. I'm Bob Alvis, and thank you for joining us for this segment of AV Veterans Talk.